And now, broadcasting live from Las Vegas, the Snake Sports Talk Show with Jake Silva starts now.
All right, here we go. We are back. We are live on a Thursday here for you, wherever and however you may be watching and listening to Snake Sports Talk Show. Thanks for making us a part of your day. Bottom half of the hour. It is that time again, week 4 of Jake's NFL Prime predictions. Roku, iHeartRadio, and all social media platforms for you to like, subscribe, hit the bell button, keep you up to date on future and past shows. Got a lot to talk about, and especially for this game in particular with the Dallas Cowboys. That's the one thing that I know will get a little bit more involved in that. But I do, however, want to point out, before we get into NFL talk, there was something that I definitely wanted to bring up, which for a lot of people, I have been a baseball guy for a very long time. And today was by far one of the most emotional days, as you can honestly see. It has been a run for one particular team and one organization, and that is the Oakland Athletics. I thought I would take the time to set aside a lot of my NFL talk, and I wanted to bring upon this organization because for 57 years in the city of Oakland, the A's have put together, I think, arguably one of their greatest historical runs for a very long time, dating all the way back to when they officially were a baseball team in Philadelphia as the Philadelphia A's, and then go to Kansas City, and then eventually find their way into Oakland. It was a brand new town. 1970 was where it was to start. And, my thought with this is Oakland has always been a diehard sports town for as long as I can remember, from the A's, the Warriors, and the Raiders. Today was a heartfelt, heartbreaking, emotional day. Because knowing that years ago, you lost the Raiders to Las Vegas. They decided they ended up moving because city council, unfortunately, could not come to terms with the organization, and Mark Davis wanted to bring this team now to Las Vegas. You've lost football that they've been such diehards for a long time. Back and forth. They've relocated from Los Angeles to Oakland multiple times. And then that was the end of it. Now a new chapter in Las Vegas has officially begun, and we're already a few years in with the Raiders now in Las Vegas. The Golden State Warriors. For the longest time that I can remember, they were San Francisco at one point. Then they were right in between the Bay Area to where they were right next door to ODOT Coliseum, which is now Ricky Henderson Field. And the Warriors, their one biggest battle cry was strength in numbers. And this dates all the way back to, you can think about it, the Tim Hardaway years, the Chris Mullin years. For a long time, the Warriors have, in fact, been a very, cultural type basketball organization. And then Steph Curry arrived, then Klay Thompson and Draymond Green. All these Warrior players, and then not to mention just the Warriors culture, they have won several titles, and they've brought numerous players in this very organization. I remember the big title runs from before KD arrived, during KD's tenure, and then after KD left. The Warriors still believed in those strong numbers. And then here we are with the Oakland Athletics for 57 years in the city of Oakland. 72, 73, and 74. Never been done in a very long time. Since probably the New York Yankees, where they've three-peated. And it was not an easy one. If you date back to the documentary, There was a documented series about how the A's went three-peat, but it was not that easy because in the end, they had to deal with an owner, Charlie Finley, that clearly was an owner that it was very hard because players started to retaliate against the owner because of mistakes from one player. The owner wanted the one player benched because of multiple errors. The players stood behind. You got to think Reggie Jackson, Raleigh Fingers, Sal Bando. There were so many great players from in this organization, and they all retaliated, and they won 3 straight championships before they all got shipped off. Then eventually you get into the funky years and then the crazy years of the 1980s with Mark McGuire, Ricky Henderson, Jose Canseco. There was so many rich histories, in this very organization that you can think of. It's what built, the culture here. That was one of the greatest things that you could love about the Oakland A's. I mean, and then in 1989, where the famous Bay Area series between them and the San Francisco Giants, and then the earthquake in Game 3, which really shook a lot of people in the seats. They win a championship. And even if you date back to the year before in 1988, because you got to think 3 teams were very pivotal in the 80s: the Yankees, the Dodgers, the A's. Those were the 3 big-time pillars of baseball in the 1980s. And when the Dodgers and the Athletics, one of the greatest World Series where Kirk Gibson, who was literally feeling every part of his body just sore, just hurting, it was bad. But yet he fought through it, and in the end, it was great. It was grand. So all the way up to this point, and where 2002, where Billy Beane, arguably one of the smartest minds in Major League Baseball, thought of one thing that now everyone in Major League Baseball is doing now, and that is the quote-unquote Moneyball effect. That took place. You couldn't afford a lot of these guys because Oakland, the money was running dry and thin outside of Alameda. But yet Billy Beane was able to make that happen for over 20 years. The team would make it into the ALCS. The team would be in the postseason. And that was it. And so they had a lot of great talents and great players. Josh Donaldson, Brandon Moss, Yoenis Cespedes, Andrew Bailey, Mark Ellis, Derek Bart, Jack Cust. There were so many great players. Barry Zito, Dan Herron, Tim Hudson, Mark Mulder. I could go on this list forever. But the Oakland Athletics today deserve some love. They deserve it. And I will give you a piece of audio. I'm not going to end up showing out this one for more of reasons. But here was the final ending. And I think one Oakland A's fans will love for the rest of their lives.
Here's the 1-2. Jankowski to Schumann. And the ground ball will end things. A 3-2 win for the Oakland Athletics. One more win for the Oakland fans.
A W on a day that everybody in the Bay needed one.
And one more time to listen to Kool and the Gang celebration.
You can honestly imagine the atmosphere in Oakland, California, as this is the final chapter for the Oakland Athletics. Oakland fans, I feel for every single one of you. If you are watching and tuning in today, You have my love and respect. You guys have been arguably the best fans in sports, so passionate, no matter wins and losses, whether the Raiders, the Warriors, or the A's. You guys have poured your heart and souls into this very place. I'm very sad to see a chapter like this end and Oakland is officially off the sports map. I'm very sad of it. And I know right now the only best farewell tour and a proper send-off was for the fans to get to experience a win and experience Kool and the Gang celebration one last time. Thank you, Oakland, for many memories, and we will never forget it. For years and years of 57 years, from 1968 to 2024. You guys have brought the best memories, regular season, postseason, a World Series title, 4 of them, to this very place. Thank you for the memories you've given us, and we will never forget it as now we turn the page into Las Vegas. Thank you all for the great memories, Warriors titles, Raiders titles, Athletics titles. Oakland will never be forgotten in the sports history.
Yeah,
I got to tell you, Chase, I feel for every single one of them, man. I mean, it's just sad. I mean, I had to bring this up on the program because sports fans don't realize when you are a city and you have been stripped of almost every single sport on this very day, you just don't know how to feel. But all you can do is literally watch, it was a sold-out packed house in Rickey Henderson Field for one last game, one last time, and witness one last victory for the only sports team that was left in this town. And you got to feel nothing but just utter joy and just understanding this was a totally different feel than what we're so used to, even if you lost 1 or 2 teams. But to lose all of them, I can't describe. I can't put it into words.
Yeah, I mean, all they wanted was a new stadium, and the city was too cheap to give them a new stadium that they wanted. And Vegas was willing to front a majority of the cost for the new stadium. And I don't even think it'll be done until 2026. So I think that they're playing baseball somewhere else next year.
Yep, they're playing in Sacramento. They're sharing it with the River Cats, and actually, it's going to be built in 2028. And so, this is the hard part, you know. And here's the funny thing: this was similarly with what I saw with the Arizona Coyotes at one point. I mean, they were sharing it with the local college in Arizona State.
Why not stay in the stadium until you are done with your current, or until you're done with the current one? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, why leave Oakland unless your lease is up or something?
Ownership problems. And listen, everybody in the city of Oakland has all had choices of words for John Fisher. Believe me, like they've had choices of words for him. And even with Arizona, with Alex Morello, everybody had a choice of words with him. And you know, it's just sad. It really, really is. And that's why I'm like, if you go into Las Vegas, which is already showing themselves they are meant to be a sports town, the only thing I hope for is that the ownership is smart. But from what I was told from a lot of fans, they do not like John Fisher. I can tell you that right now. They do not like him.
I mean, there has been talks for the past 4 or 5 years for the NFL and MLB to expand and add more teams in. I know that the MLB wanted to add at least 2 more teams in. They thought about bringing Montreal back, and then they're just like, where would we put another team? They were thinking Mexico City, but now Oakland would be a great opportunity to, bring another team there as long as they get a new owner and somebody that's willing to upfront some money. Same thing with football. You've got a chance to get a couple international teams. You got a chance to go down to St. Louis if you want. You even got a chance to bring football back to Oakland and have ownership, like whoever is ownership of the new team, bring it back to Oakland and build a brand new stadium for them there. And I just think that it would be so beneficial to the NFL if they brought a team to Oakland and everything, because how huge would that be for the city?
Oh, it would be tremendous, and like I've said before, I mean, you are with what your ownership is. We've been discussing it with Mark Davis. I've said it before. He's unlike his dad. Mark Davis was not the kind that, he would honestly pour a lot of that kind of energy and money in. That's why, he's been looking elsewhere. And then because Al Davis has always been very loyal, no matter what. He's been loyal with the team, but unlike Mark Davis, it's been a different kind of story. I think, in the end, you make the best of these memories. And I think that's why I think it's a very hard emotional day for everybody in the city of Oakland. And, with John Fisher, the owner, clearly didn't quite understand, how invested these fans have always been for a very long time. I mean, I have family of mine. I actually have one of my family members who was a journalist, a writer, who spoke about the energy, the feel every time you went in to the Oakland Coliseum when the Raiders would be playing on game day. And it was heartbreaking for a lot of Oakland fans because they loved the Raiders. They would still there were some of those fans that were still willing to make the travels to watch the Raiders. But it was just never the same feel. The tailgating, the local radio stations, and then when you're there on the field, totally different vibe.
Yeah, I mean, to me, like, these teams will always be Oakland A's and Oakland Raiders. I mean, it's very hard for me to say the Las Vegas Raiders, and sometimes it's even hard for me to say the Los Angeles Chargers. I still say the San Diego Chargers.
Yep.
But, like, I think that moving a team from a city to a different one is beneficial, but it's also tough. Like, look at Cleveland, for example. We would not have the Baltimore Ravens or the Indianapolis Colts without Cleveland leaving.
Yeah, I mean, that's like I said, I think it is that kind of feeling. Everybody remembers it from past histories. That's one of the things that I think we should be very lucky of as sport fans for that reason, because we have that. There are many that don't, and I think that's what's kind of sad about it. So, but again, we move on. We close the book and we open up a new chapter in the end. So, I did want to get into, the college picks before we take the break. So, of course, for everybody that are betting this week, the Go for 3 game day, of course, has been very strong. I've been very confident of my picks. We've been looking very good. And for those that, bet college football, check out BetUS for yourself and check them out today. I've been very, very, like I said, I've been watching a lot of college football lately, and there's been some spicy ones this week. And there's only about 3. So I have been I've been very tempted with a lot of other games as well, but I figured these were the 3 that I would go with. So let's cue the music here, and let's go ahead and check out a lot of our picks.
Oklahoma State at Kansas State.
All right, Oklahoma State against Kansas State. That is definitely a game I've been looking forward to here this weekend. And so I'm going to go with Oklahoma State +5 in this game. And the reasoning for this is because Oklahoma State, they are a very tough program. And Ollie Gordon, I love him as a tailback. Kansas State, they've been coming up with some pretty tough matchups the last few weeks. But Kansas State, I feel like against a team like Oklahoma State, there's going to be really good quality defense involved. I think Oklahoma State running the football hard against a Kansas State team, this is one that I felt like the +5 is a pretty good gimme. I think both these teams will trade off with as far as offenses is concerned. Defenses is going to be very much tested all the way until the end. But give me Oklahoma State at the +5. I'll take them to win here, 35-31 against the Wildcats.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Give me the +7 for Oklahoma State. I do agree with the whole Ollie Gordon thing. I think he's arguably the second or third best back in all of college football. And Kansas State has been matched up against a gauntlet of teams recently for their competition. And, they've been playing very, very tough. But I do think that, Oklahoma State is a little bit more talented on that side of the ball. My final prediction for that score will be 48-32.
All right. Well, let's see what the next matchups got us here in this one.
Virginia Tech at Miami.
So here's my thing. I am loving with what I'm seeing from Cam Ward and the Miami Hurricanes. It felt a lot like, to me, that 19.5 looks pretty tasty. I will take it. Minus 19.5. Miami's offense, this is completely different under Mario Cristobal. When Cam Ward came into this program, I've said a few things about this. You are getting an elite runner. And what's funny about this is I compare this to Justin Fields, but with a better throwing arm, a better pocket presence, and I think that's what Cam Ward really is. I've been seeing a lot of some explosive offense from the Hurricanes this year. This has turned into, I feel like, Miami looks to be the high favorite to winning the ACC this year because Clemson looks like a mess. Florida State, give me a break. And a lot of these other teams in this conference, but against Virginia Tech, I feel like this is going to be a mop-out. I'm going to take Miami to win this game outright, 19.5, 42-17.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Right now, Cam Ward is the Heisman favorite since Quinn Ewers has been down for the past 2 games with injury. Cam Ward now is sitting at like 1,400 yards and I think almost 30 touchdowns already. Like he's in that like 20 touchdown marker, like closer to that. But like, don't be shocked if in the next couple weeks he ends up surpassing that 30 touchdown marker. And, he could win the Heisman Trophy this year and be the first quarterback taken in the draft. I have Miami in a blowout of like 54-10 for this one.
Now my last game, this is a big one. This is a big one down south. And this is the spiciest one of all. But here we go. Here we go in this one.
Yes, sir.
Georgia, Alabama.
All right, so Georgia at Alabama. You bet your ass that with this kind of game in particular, I'm going to go with them Bulldogs at -2. Here's the difference about this one, because Kalen DeBoer really has stepped up in a big way for the Alabama Crimson Tide. I'm not going to take anything away from that. But Kirby Smart and the Georgia Bulldogs, we know that they have been coming against tough competition. But Kirby Smart, the SEC really runs through Georgia. They're offensively, Carson Beck finds ways to spread the offense around. Defensively, however, it's been a bit shaky. But I think with Kirby Smart in a big game and an SEC matchup like this in Tuscaloosa, I think in a sense, Georgia's going to come in. They're going to want to have a wrecking party down south against the Roll Tide. And again, I think Jalen Milroe, you're seeing a lot of these RPOs. I think he's been throwing the football also efficiently in the last few weeks. First of all, that last game that came up very close to Alabama was almost one that I was kind of shocked. I thought that was going to end close, but then eventually the floodgates open. And so I feel like with Georgia, this is not an easy team to push around. I think we're going to get a very good, I'd say this is a movie, like this is a motion picture here in Tuscaloosa. I got my popcorn ready. I will take the Bulldogs here on the road in a pound-for-pound fight, and to win this game very closely 27-21 against Alabama.
I mean, neither of these teams have looked really good this year, and I'm surprised that Georgia's still at number 2 and they didn't bump Ohio State up to number 2 because Georgia won by 1 point to Kentucky. And had Kentucky kicked a field goal earlier in the game, they would have won the game and beaten Georgia, and we'd be talking a whole different story. Now, I think that their offense has been stale a little bit, and I will say I still have Georgia winning, but I've got my final score prediction at 27-25.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think this is the most action-packed game I think that we have in college football, like down south. Because I looked at a bunch of those other games, and I'm like, there was one that felt a bit of a stay away. I mean, last week Michigan came up in a big thriller in Ann Arbor against USC, which USC's defense was also no pushover either. But if you felt the way that I felt like both sides of the line. I mean, that was one that I was like, oh, good hell. I got Michigan's D-line against USC's offensive line. Like
good Big Ten matchup.
Oh, God, it was a classic. I mean, no matter how you felt about it, I mean, it was a classic matchup. So I just think, a couple of those, I was just like, okay, these are my obvious 3. So I like them. I'm confident in them. Those who also check out the game day, Go for 3 game day on our social medias on the Snake Sports Talk Show is where you guys will see all of our betting games here on the show. That's the Go for 3 game day, sponsored in part by BetUS.com. BetUS, for over 30 years of business, has been tremendous in their sports books. It's why they're one of America's favorite sports books right now, going strong for 30 years. So if you want the best bet lines, college football, NFL, and more, check out BetUS for yourself. BetUS guarantees you $50 or more into your deposits with a matchup of up to 125% bonuses. That means the more you deposit, up to earnings of $2,000, the more you deposit, the more chances you get to earn in all of your favorite contests, sport books, prop bets, so much more. Get in on the action at BetUS.com, and also all the best account managers to making sure you get the best of the experience when you bet with BetUS. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER and all of your calling lines in your local state to seek therapy and seek help for you, because we do not want you to gamble recklessly. Gamble responsibly when you use BetUS.com. BetUS, where the game begins.
Want to find your seat for the event of your choice but can't get one that fits your desire or your budget? Well, my friends, SeatGeek has you covered. SeatGeek is the official sponsor of the Snake Sports Talk Show. With a list of over hundreds of events to choose from, SeatGeek will assure you that you won't miss your seat with the amazing view of your choice at the most affordable price. Whether it's looking for your best seat in the house of your favorite sports team, finding live concerts that get you closer to your favorite artist, or enjoying your spot at your favorite live shows, comedies, and more, SeatGeek has it all just for you. Go online to SeatGeek.com or download the app on your mobile device through Google Play and the App Store. And as a special offer before checkout, use promo code SNAKESPORTS and save yourself $20 off of your purchase of your first ticket, and experience why SeatGeek is the most trusted ticketing app for your next event. Remember, that's SeatGeek.com, and download the app on your phone with promo code SNAKESPORTS for $20 off and find your seat with SeatGeek.
Looking for a show with the best takes and opinions? Want a show with the best coverage around the world of sports? Jam-packed with an all-star interview lineup? Then the best place to find it all, sports and entertainment, is right here. Join Jake Silva on the Snake Sports Talk Show, presented by SeatGeek and BetUS. Weeknights at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific on Sports Wave Network.
Con Man, live on the Sports Corner, coming to a screen near you, giving you the greatest stories from basketball legends you've never seen before. Sharing their glory, building the toughness, and how they show off their swag. But only one man knows all that, and that's the Con Man. Join Michael Conceição, the Con Man, at the Sports Corner, Fridays at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 Pacific, on Sportsway Network.
Back here with you on the Snake Sports Talk Show, Chase and myself. Appreciate all of you guys for hanging out with us and joining us here and making us a part of your day. So, tonight is the night that this has to be for the Dallas Cowboys. For multiple reasons, because the injury report that we got from the New York Giants is that they are without their two secondaries, which is why I think with Dak, he's getting a bit of a break. But the only difference of it is I do see them a bit marginalized with that run defense, because if they can't get that run game going, that's a problem. And now I do feel like offensively Dak, and by the way, Dak is 12-2 against the Giants. So we know that if he's playing teams like New Orleans, who literally kicked the tires off the Cowboys, or if he's facing Lamar and the Ravens, that's going to be another one that's going to be an interesting one as well. And I just felt like after those two games, Dallas can't afford to lose. If Dallas loses this game against the Giants tonight, you know a lot of this heat is going to be on Jerry Jones, and it's going to be on why did we not get a run game? Why did we not get one? The Cowboys, you know, the glamorous organization in the league. I mean, I've said it before. They feel like the trust fund kid with a Lambo. Last thing you want is you want a dinger or you want some sort of dent on the bumper, and then that's when all things collapse. But there are teams that are built like pickup trucks. They're reliable, they're strong, they're capable of all seasons, and the Cowboys are not that. They've never been that. So I feel like tonight should be and needs to be the night for the Cowboys to really come away with this game. I really, really do think so. And I think with what we're going to see, I'm going to keep an eye on that box score. Don't be surprised that they become very Dak reliant. That becomes the issue. You know, with where I stand with Dallas and why Washington has the opportunity to trump over them for the second spot. All right, Chase with the news.
This is the hot press.
This is the night, man. This is the night because, again, like Dallas media is not going to be happy if by the time I get the final score on this, and if that game looked ugly, Mike McCarthy and Jerry Jones, you know, are going to get heated by a lot of Dallas media guys. Just saying.
Yeah, no, they definitely will. I mean, I think that Jerry just needs to hire an actual GM. He needs to take a step away from, you know, making the big decisions about players on who they bring in and everything. And then just let that GM pick the players, let the GM pick the new head coach, and then let them go from there. Because they need a lot of help on the defensive side of the ball. They need a run game and everything because, you know, Rico Dowdle and an aging Zeke Elliott aren't doing it for you. They are not.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely insane to sit here and think that you are going to have a winning season if you continue that. They just scored and it's 7-3, but the Giants were driving the ball down the field. And they left Malik Neighbors wide open for a 60-yard pass.
Now, here's the other thing, man, because with the way Malik Neighbors is playing right now, I mean, that should come with people were saying that should come with a warning label, because then that's going to Malik Neighbors is making the narrative. Oh, Daniel Jones is good again.
Nope.
I'm not doing it. I've been fooled last time with it. I'm not doing it. I love Malik Neighbors, though. But Malik Neighbors is just something else. But the fact that it's going to happen again, I would not be surprised with New York media because that's how this is. But, yeah, he's something else. I like him. I really like him.
So the NFL Players Association has been getting together and discussing whether or not it is the training staff and like the way that the medical personnel is handling these players and what they're doing during the offseason, or if it's still a fueled issue on why all of these injuries are popping up around the NFL. Because there is so many that are happening so often that the NFL Players Association has gotten together and been like, what is the issue?
Well, here's the thing. It's a test of toughness, with a lot of these injuries. But again, these have been, like, you and I have discussed this in the past, where we've talked about it with like the conditions of the fields, like the turf. We know that's been an ongoing issue for a long time. But my thing is I just feel like, with a lot of those injuries, I just think a lot of that has to deal with, turf toes. I mean, Jordan Poyer pointed that out in his tenure with, Buffalo. He pointed that out about how that stuff hurts and that sucks. But I mean, the one game I'm going to see with that kind of stuff is the Denver and the Jets game, because they're in MetLife, and that's the part where I'm like, one slight look at that, and I feel like that is going to tell me, okay, yeah, this turf sucks, this field sucks at the end of it, and you need to update a lot of this stuff. So, but yeah, I just feel like a lot of these injuries have become because coaches and some of them have been sitting some of their starters. Now, I'm not blaming this on Sean McVay. McVay has a different way of doing this, but I think for some, it's a copycat league. They want to know how this works. They all want the Kansas City blueprint with the Rams reservation mindset, but that doesn't work like that. Every one of them's different. You got to be authentic. You got to work with what works with your strength. I can understand it with veteran players, like older ones, but it doesn't always work for everyone. And that's kind of the deal.
So we saw last week that Bryce Young got benched for Andy Dalton.
Yep.
And Andy Dalton ended up leading the Panthers to their first win of the season, and he is now starting again this week. Ooh. Have we seen the end of Bryce Young in Carolina, and will he be traded in the offseason is the question that everybody is asking.
Oh, I would. I think, and it's funny because we've been having multiple conversations with people about this, and I think if you're Carolina and in your best case in point and your value, I would very much trade Bryce Young away. There has actually been surfaced from many analysts that have broke this down and have said, one I thought was interesting. I don't know if you've seen it, but Chase Daniel put together an entire blueprint here of a 3-team trade. This is what I saw. So the trade he proposed was the Miami Dolphins, the Los Angeles Rams, and the Carolina Panthers in a 3-team trade. So what this means is that the Dolphins would acquire Matt Stafford. He would acquire, because the cap hit for Stafford, I mean, it's going to go up $4 million more. So that's why I think if you're the Rams, I mean, you're kind of coming to the tail end. The Rams would acquire Bryce Young because you are getting a quarterback for the future. You have a very good – we've seen this time and time again when Sean McVay turns a lot of these quarterbacks around. Look at Jared Goff. Look at Matthew Stafford. Look at Baker Mayfield. I mean, with an injury-riddled team like it was that year, he made it work. And so I think if you give him Bryce Young, Sean McVay is going to work his magic, and he's going to turn this team around, and I think he will definitely make him a much better version, because I think a lot of this is he's not comfortable in the pocket. He feels more frantic. whether that's can he see the field right or is it a release problem? There's a lot of those things that really kind of come into the surface that I think we're starting to see with Bryce Young. I just don't see this working right now in Carolina. But if you are the Panthers and you're that management, I would trade him with the value he has right now, because otherwise you're going to miss out on that opportunity, and it's not going to go through very, very well.
News broke today that two-time Super Bowl champion Josh Gordon is officially retiring from the NFL and from football.
God.
I think that, like, his career was a phenomenal start off. You know, getting him in the supplemental draft, not even as a UDFA, just in the supplemental draft when they had that back then. Yeah. And then breaking onto the scene with Brandon Weeden, Jason Campbell, and I can't even remember who it was that year. I think it was like Cody Kessler or something. Yeah. Using those three guys as your starting quarterback in reaching 1,646 yards in a single season, and still holding the record for the only receiver to go back-to-back 200-yard receiving games in the NFL for the Cleveland Browns. That's insane. Granted, if he would have stayed off the weed, it would have been more beneficial and everything for us, and we would have had a lot better chance of keeping him a lot longer. But what a heck of a player he was when he was in Cleveland.
Well, you know what's funny about this is, and I do feel like he was a heck of a player. I mean, watching him in college and then watching him up into the pros, he had some sign of life in him. Mm-hmm. And, you know, this was one that I was just like, okay, this is something interesting here. Because I've watched a lot of these Browns receivers from, like, you know, Braylon Edwards, and even when you can recall, like, Brian Hartline and a lot of these other guys, and even for Gary Barnidge, like, Josh Gordon was going to be something else. But the fact that, you know, with the time he missed because of the drug policy, not to mention some of the injuries started to accumulate on top of all of that, is one I think I just think it was one that it was just what could have been, in my opinion. That's the one thing I kind of thought.
Yeah.
You know, so
it's a big what if, but I mean, he's still a two-time Super Bowl champion with the New England Patriots and the Kansas City Chiefs. So, I mean, do with that what you will. You could say, did he really earn it and everything? I don't know. Being on the practice squad and then on the active roster, you were still on the roster, so technically you did get a ring and everything. Did you deserve it? Probably not. But regardless, he still got two of them. So,
yeah. No, I mean,
all I will say is it was, like, great memories for when he was there at Cleveland. I just wish that he would have been able to be there a lot longer for us. So.
Oh yeah, no, I agree. I feel like that if things went right, no, that would have been one that I think Josh Gordon would have had a better career, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. But I mean, he bounced around several times, and then not up to the point. He was in that fan-driven league at one point, wasn't he? Like, he was in that one fan-driven league that I was just with Johnny Manziel of all people. I'm like, oh good hell! Like, this was that was one that I was just like, you know, it's fun, and you let the fans control the game. Interesting. I mean, it was like we were kind of getting some future coaches up out there. It seemed like.
Yeah, and that's pretty much all I got for the news today. It's a light week, other than like a lot of injuries that have happened and everything. I know that Adam Thielen's going on IR because of hamstring issues, and then, you know, we got a couple that are coming back from injury this week. Possibly David Njoku. Nick Chubb will be activated after this Sunday, and everything's done and over with. So you've got a couple that are going to be coming back off of injury, but, like, you also had a few people go on injured reserve this week as well.
Well, all right. Chase with the news.
This is the hot press.
So as we're basically finishing up, we've got a lot of our prime prediction picks. I'm kind of giving the idea. I mean, right now there has been a bunch of stay away games this week because I when I looked at the bet lines this morning, and I was just like, you've got to be kidding me. This is literally what the bet line is today, like today. I didn't like it. And then, and again, this past 3 weeks, the dogs have been barking. And so I feel like this time around now, I think the obvious one, though, that is the Thursday night games. Because I think the Thursday games are ones where you are taking the better quarterback here. Mm-hmm. That's where I think is the guarantee out of everything. So I think that's the part where people are starting to figure that out. And so that's kind of my case up in it. All right. Well, we've got all of our prime prediction picks. As of right now, Chase is obviously leading the way. But I feel like with this week, I have a very good feeling we might have a chance to really kind of see it. So here we go.
Let's turn it up. It's Jake's Prime Predictions.
All right. Well, I apologize for everybody with no audios from up here, but here's what we got. All right, so the Cowboys and the Giants. So as a Thursday night game, here's what I have at least from this point on. So the Thursday night games I've been catching on, you take the better quarterback. I'm taking the Dallas Cowboys at -5.5 for a few reasons. Because number one is Dak is 12-2 against the New York Giants. So against other 500 teams, Dak does not look good in. And now in 3 weeks and in 2 home games, the Cowboys are now 0-2, and this is probably the roughest start that they've had now in the last few years. They have been a better football team in some of these areas, but I feel like the narrative has now kind of switched around. And so that's where I feel like with the Cowboys this week, on a Thursday game, I'm getting the better quarterback. I feel like I'm getting the better offense because nothing against Brian Daboll and nothing against what Daniel Jones and what Malik Willis has been able to do. But I feel like with the Giants, it feels like a wonky game to me. Both of their secondaries are out. Give me the Cowboys on the road after embarrassing losses up at home, 27-20 in the Big Apple.
Yeah, I mean, I have to agree with you. I think that Dallas has a better quarterback. They have a better, team. At least I think they do. I mean, the Giants' defense is no slouch and everything, but their offense is a little lackluster other than Malik Neighbors and Theo Johnson. But I think it's a battle right now. It's 7-6 is the score, but I still am going with the Cowboys, and I'm going to pick them to win 20-17.
All right. Oh, wonder why it's not working here. Let's. There we go. All right, so I did not like the bet line here, and so they had the Jets favored at 8 at home. Are you out of your mind? And now look, I know they've lost Alex Singleton, but here's my problem with this. I'm going with the Broncos at +8. If you watch the Broncos defense in the last few weeks, did you see what they did to Baker in Tampa? And did you see what they did against the Pittsburgh Steelers in week 2? They did not make that a fun, kind of matchup. I think the Broncos, to some areas, the defense has started to play harder. Now, Bo Nix is without a touchdown pass, but he has a rushing touchdown. I think he's finally starting to become a little comfortable now after week 3. Sean Payton has loved the progression that Bo Nix has been putting together, but after what I saw from Thursday on that dink and dunk offense, that Jets offense doesn't look as intimidating. I think, look, I like Aaron Rodgers, but we know they lost Morgan Moses. In comes In comes the rookie, Alou Fashanu, who I know it was one of my top 10 picks going into the draft this year. I'd like to see how things work out, but I think on this kind of game at home, the Jets are excited to end up winning and having a winning record, but I feel like with Denver, they've been pushing guys around. It hasn't been a fun deal. I think in the end, they come away with this with the +8. Jets, I do feel like still win at home, but I did not like that 8 points. Give me the 8 points of the Broncos, 23-20.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really high on and sold on Denver on their offense or defensive side of the ball. They got Patrick Surtain, who is a phenomenal corner, and him shutting down Mike Evans really put a damper on Baker. And I told everybody that Baker, you give him a team with a good defense and he'll fold. And what did he do? He folded. Their defense is getting there, but it's not quite elite. And then going up against the Steelers, I mean, obviously their offense is, piss poor and it's nothing to bat an eye about. But I think that the Jets are a better team overall. They got a better defense, top 10. And then not to mention their offensive side of the ball, guys like Breece Hall, Braylon Allen, Garrett Wilson, Allen Lazard, you name it. They've got weapons galore on that team that you can just throw to or even hand off to. Give me the Jets to win this one. I think it'll be like 31-10 for this matchup.
All right. Now, this is an interesting marquee matchup between the Minnesota Vikings and the Green Bay Packers. Now, I know that there were question marks up on Sam Darnold, but this offense, though, for the Minnesota Vikings offense, talk about a defense from, Brian Flores. I'll take the Vikings +3 up in this one. We know of what we've seen now in 3 weeks with the Minnesota Vikings, with Kevin O'Connell and with Sam Darnold. Now, Darnold, I know, was dealing with an injury, but I think there have been reports where he's okay. He may end up playing this week. And the Packers are with Matt LaFleur and with Malik Willis. So my thing of it is I know that they want Jordan Love back here, but I would not be rushing him out onto the field. The Vikings, though, on the defense in 3 weeks, that defense has been playing superb since Tua called out Brian Flores. That defense has been immaculate. They've been staying in games. I mean, they went toe-to-toe against the 49ers. They've also been very good against the Giants. And even with the last win that they pulled off, I mean, Brock Purdy's a hell of a quarterback, but what they did against the 49ers offense and showing off the physical game, the Vikings look like they could be for real. I'm not going to put too much hype into it yet, but in a divisional matchup, and they've had this game circled up, I will take the Minnesota Vikings. With that defense coming up clutch, though, 3 points is all I need, 27-24 on the road in Lambeau.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and take Minnesota in this matchup as well. I think that they played very, very well the past couple weeks. They're going to get TJ Hawkinson back next week off of IR as well. And, if he's ready to go and capable of playing, he will. And just imagine having him in there with Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson and, that team in general. I think that they're playing lights out right now. Their defense is playing great. And I got Minnesota winning this game as well. So, I mean, it'll be a good matchup.
All right. Now, just because the New Orleans Saints undressed the Panthers, they undressed the Cowboys. Last week against the Philadelphia Eagles, they ended up back at earth. Now, the Falcons, of course, they played a very good defensive showing. Unfortunately, they didn't play the right situation that I thought that they would have. I didn't like that call at all against Kansas City. But at home, I'm going to take the Atlanta Falcons in a divisional matchup. Listen, Kirk Cousins, he's starting to look like a very good quarterback. Like, he is looking like the kind that he's starting to run a bit. He's opening up some of these plays. Kyle Pitts and company. Now, the offense looked a bit rough, but that defense did not lose a step. Justin Simmons came away with an interception against Patrick Mahomes. The defense is putting up some pressures. So now it's where the offense really has to start getting things going. Now, the Saints, of course, they're a very good team. Okay, I like them. I think they've played very well with a new offensive coordinator in Clint Kubiak, and Derek Carr is definitely playing out of his mind. So is Alvin Kamara. But I think with how Atlanta's defense, that's tough to come against because think about it. The Falcons got roughed up against the Pittsburgh Steelers, but since then they've been playing some quality defense outside of the situational play against Kansas City that I wish they would have been able to play. I will take the Falcons at home in a very good division rival matchup against the Saints. Not an easy one. I'll take them to win 27-24.
Yeah, I'm going to go the opposite direction here. I'm going to go ahead and choose New Orleans Saints. I think that they got smacked. Well, I wouldn't say smacked against the Eagles, but they got humbled against the Eagles. And it really gives Clint Kubiak a chance to look at what he needs to do better against a stout defense like the Atlanta Falcons and what they have coming. And I do know that guys like A.J. Terrell that are out there and Matthew Judon and just Garrett, their defensive tackle. I'm drawing a blank on.
Yep, Grady Jarrett. Yep,
Grady Jarrett. Yeah, there we go. And having guys like him up the middle, it's going to be very, very difficult. But I think if they could use Alvin Kamara at the wide receiver position along with Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed, they're going to look to open the floodgates and beat the Falcons. And I think that they have a shot of winning by 10 to 14 points for this one.
All right. So, as much as I don't like Nick Sirianni's situational play calling as much, but I think with what the Eagles are is that their defense has literally looked pretty good under Vic Fangio. I'll take the Eagles -1 on the road. Now, this is a payback game from the playoff game that we got last year when the Eagles were losing 5 of 6 games. I mean, it was a horrible outcome. Now, the difference of it is Jalen Hurts has, in fact, been making some of the mistakes, but that run game of Saquon Barkley against this kind of defense where I don't know if Tampa, they've got their front line together because Vita Vea, we know, has been injured, and there's been a couple guys that's been kind of beaten up. I think for the Eagles, they're playing football, but I don't like the situational play calling that they've been lately. I think in the end, somebody's got to take command and control. But I do believe, though, because without A.J. Brown and without now Devontae Smith, the Eagles are going to have to end up relying on Jahan Dotson and multiple others. But I think they're going to solely lean heavily onto Saquon Barkley. But hopefully the Eagles face off adversity, and I think they come away with this on the road against Tampa, where you saw that last week against Denver. They did not look good. They looked marginalized. I think the defense kind of does the same similar thing like Denver did. I'll take Philadelphia to win on an edge 24-20 in Tampa.
Yeah, I'm going to go the opposite direction. I'm going to go with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in this one. I think Baker has a bounce-back game. He's done that his whole career, especially in Cleveland. Like, he'd have one, very, very terrible game and then come back the next week and, either ball out or play, much better than what he did the week before. And the Eagles, without having Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown, it's going to be, a hindrance for Kellen Moore to figure out what he's going to call for the plays and everything. And you're going to look to Dallas Goedert. You're going to look to Saquon Barkley. But that front seven for the Bucs and having Anton Winfield in the back end on the Bucs as well, I think it's going to pay dividends. And with the fact that they only scored 15 points last week and everything's kind of concerning to me. Give me the Bucs in that one.
All right. All right, let me just tell you something. The Bengals right now are pissed. And if you saw the video that surfaced after the game, Joe Burrow took Zach Taylor and also took the defensive coordinator and said, we need to talk. And I think maybe they got some positives up out of this talk. And I think the Bengals, they are dying for a win. I'm going to take them 4.5 on the road against the Carolina Panthers. Now, we know that Andy Dalton is facing it against his former team that he started his career with. But right now, the Bengals, this could be a break game for them because that defense has not played as well. The Bengals right now are in situations where they're having to play shootouts with every team they've come across now. They did this against Washington. They did this against Kansas City. I felt like in Kansas City they had life. And that's where I thought they could have came away with this one against Washington. But Jaden Daniels had a heck of a game. And then you saw that game against New England. Cincinnati is pissed. They are pissed that they're 0-3. And a lot of that is there's heat on. There is heat on Zach Taylor. There's heat on the defensive coordinator. And so right now, I think the Bengals, they had a very good conversation, maybe to clear some smoke out of the air. But against a Carolina team that still gives up points, still kind of, I think they were much better last week against the Raiders, against a Raider team that does Raider things. I don't think Cincinnati's going to come away with that same way that the Raiders did. I think they'll come away with a win. First one in the books, 27-20 on the road in Charlotte.
Yeah, go ahead and give me the Carolina Panthers and the Cincinnati Bengals to start off 0-4. Give me the Carolina Panthers for this one. I think that that offense has a resurgence with Andy Dalton at the quarterback, having Deontay Johnson, Miles Sanders even got in the end zone and everything. Chuba Hubbard was playing out of his mind. And then you still got guys like Xavier Legette and Jonathan Mingo that are stepping up and playing a lot better. And, this Carolina Panthers team is great on the offensive side of the ball when you got a competent quarterback playing. If Bryce Young was playing, I'd be like, yeah, give me the Cincinnati Bengals. But with Andy in there, I'd say go ahead and give me the Panthers for this one.
All right. So after a humiliating loss for the Jacksonville Jaguars, I didn't see any improvements. I felt like Trevor Lawrence looked completely marginalized against a defense like Buffalo's, and they were just – the herd was rolling all over them, and that was bad. I will take the Texans at 5.5, however, because I do feel like they also got embarrassed themselves. The Texans are a very talented team under C.J. Stroud, and against divisional opponents, Stroud has actually been playing at his best. And I think one of these things is because there is confidence within the divisional matchups. But the Texans, we know, they were playing squared off toe-to-toe against Chicago, which that was not C.J. Stroud's best game. In the end, they got to get a run game going. I think Cam Akers, and hopefully we get some sign of life from Joe Mixon with the injury. But I think the Texans, they're primed up at home in a divisional matchup after what we saw from Jacksonville. I just think this is screaming bad for the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'll take the Texans at home, 28-20, comfortably against Jacksonville.
Yeah, I'm also going to go ahead and go with the Texans against Jacksonville. You're going to have the Jags starting off 0-4, possibly Doug Peterson fired after that game and everything, just because of how abysmal he has looked with coaching. I think he's lost the locker room. I think he's lost a lot of respect for the guys. He's not getting Trevor Lawrence on the same page and getting him to play at an elite level. And I just think that C.J. Stroud and the Texans' offense is too good. And DeMeco Ryans, after getting embarrassed this past week, is going to look to his defense and sit them down and be like, what do we need to fix? And what can we get better with this week? Give me the Texans for that one.
All right. So one thing which was interesting that the Bears couldn't do that I think the Steelers will is run the football against a battered run defense like the Colts are. I'm going to take the Steelers at -1. The Steelers right now are riding they are riding like the victory train right now with Justin Fields, with as good as he's been playing. Now, there has been a conversation as far as Fields and Wilson starting. But I do feel like the results are still going to be similar because this defense in 3 weeks, this is the number one best defense in the league. TJ Watt and Cam Hayward and everybody on that whole defensive front, they've been leaning a lot on defense because the offense is the opposite. They're the bottom half. It's a BB gun offense. But at the same time, I think a defense that has been putting a lot of confidence for the offense to just move the needle, move the ball, and score points. The defense has been doing a much better job, but I have not liked the results from Anthony Richardson in the last couple weeks. Give me the Pittsburgh Steelers to win this game against the Colts 23-17.
Unfortunately, I hate to say it, but give me the Pittsburgh Steelers as well. They played a cupcake schedule to start the season with, and they've got the number one best defense because of playing no-name teams. And the reason why I say no-name is because, the Falcons, with Kirk Cousins coming off an injury and being on a new team, new offense and everything, and the very first game of the season, it's going to be hard to get back on track. You played a rookie in Bo Nix and the Denver Broncos, nothing spectacular, and then a banged-up Chargers team with an injured Justin Herbert, and you ended up winning and shutting down their backup. So congratulations on your 4-0 or your 4-0 victories with now going up against a quarterback who has played only 5-6 games now in the NFL and has played like a total of 20 games total through college and the pros. Yeah, congratulations on having the best defense against no-name teams or teams that are injured and everything. So, yeah, Steelers are going to pull out this win, but I'm not very impressed by it.
All right. Now, because the fact that the Bears did not efficiently run the football very well like they should have against the Indianapolis Colts, I just could not believe how erratic that, Caleb Williams looked. However, Caleb Williams did come away with 300 passing yards. This time there's a change in the running back room now. Roschon Johnson is going to end up starting as the running back. I'll take the Bears here at -3. This right now is the game that the Bears know they cannot lose. With the fact of the Rams decimated by injuries, they came off of an emotional win against the San Francisco 49ers. This is an opportunity for the Bears at home to really take advantage of it. The defense has been playing their asses off. And I think in the end, offensive line looks bad. It looks like it's regressing. Shane Waldron, the offensive coordinator that they got, really needs to figure this out. Because if you want Caleb Williams to build successes, you got to start with scripted plays, get him fired up, and then you start going for those spectacular plays. Now, it may not be easy with Sean McVay, but I think because of that offense being marginalized by injuries, I will take the Bears at home in an interesting matchup indeed. I will take them 27-21 against the Rams.
Did you just say Roschon Johnson's their starting back?
Roschon Johnson just got elevated, and DeAndre Swift got sent down probably to the third of the depth chart with the running. Oh, yeah. Because 1.8 yards a carry, that's not good enough. You need a run game. Like that's why and Johnson showed some spurts. Like that kid can run. He can play.
Yeah. No, I'll go ahead and give me the Bears on this one too. I think that, with the defense that they have and everything, I think that they could pull it out. And Caleb is starting to look a lot better each and every week. But JSN and DK Metcalf came out and said it best that Shane Waldron was an issue that they had over in Seattle. They ended up playing well, but I think that in terms of the offense and stuff, the way it was bad. I'm hoping the Bears do bad so that way they can fire Matt Eberflus and get an offensive-minded head coach in there, because Matt Eberflus and Shane Waldron are not it. And I think that having Bobby Slowick there would be amazing and everything. But, yeah.
Yeah, I could almost see, maybe potentially Ben Johnson or somebody up in there. All right. So I know right now the defense hasn't looked at its best, but I'll tell you what, though, that Cardinal offense really is looking something else with Trey McBride and with Marvin Harrison Jr. I think Kyler Murray really is starting to look like a better version of himself. I will take the Cardinals at -3.5. The thing about the Washington Commanders, yes, Jaden Daniels has arrived. Yes, they've been playing better, but they gave up 35 points on defense. That's one thing that I'm like, if you are the Commanders, you cannot afford to play a game like that. At least with the Cardinals, they've been keeping at it in some games. That loss that they had against the Lions last week, was only a 6-point margin. The Cardinals don't find themselves out of certain situational games. So I feel like against the Washington Commanders in an emotional win like that against the Bengals, I'll take the Cardinals at home, and I think Kyler Murray looking a lot better, and I think the offensive fluidity looks a lot stronger against a Commanders defense that gave up 35 points last week. Give me the Cardinals at home 27-21. But I'll tell you what, though, this is a matchup between two rushing quarterbacks that both are accurate, and I think that is going to be a fun show to watch there.
Yeah, it definitely will be. Go ahead and give me the Cardinals in on this one. I mean, not the Cardinals, the Commanders, actually, for this one. Because I do think that you have a team in Jaden Daniels in the way that they are and the way that they've been playing. I think that it's just been a lot better for them, and I think that the Cardinal defense is still lackluster, and it sucks. And I think that he's going to expose the heck out of the Cardinals.
All right. All right, so this is another one I did not like the line. The line is at 10. Without Christian McCaffrey, without George Kittle, without Deebo Samuel, you're telling me that the Niners are going to honestly come away with 10 points. Give me a break. I will take the Patriots at plus 10. Here's the difference. The Patriots on a short week against the New York Jets last week was, of course, the time that Aaron Rodgers and that offense came alive. But this is not going to be the kind of case for the New England Patriots. I'm sorry. I feel like the Patriots, after an embarrassing loss like that against a division rival, Patriots are kind of refocusing themselves. I just don't see it being a 10-point margin. I feel like because with the offense, as bad as they played, and then not to mention that defense was trying to, at the very least, still come away with plays, I think the Patriots will be better in this situation because it's Jawan Jennings and it's a couple of like 4th, 5th, 6th string wide receivers. But Brock Purdy is very, very good. I don't think the Niners lose this. I think they win. But that's not an easy game against a team that got embarrassed last week. I will take the Niners with a plus 10 of the Patriots. I'll take them to win 24-17. Niners come away with the win at home.
I'm going to go rapid fire for my next few picks just because I have to go do something. But I'm going to go ahead and start off with the Niners on this one. I just think it's blatantly obvious that I think that they are a better team, better talent, better defense all around, even with all the injuries that they have.
All right. Now, as much as I would like to take the Cleveland Browns in this game, the difference is that the Raiders have made a change of their own. They may potentially put in Aiden O'Connell after that embarrassing game against the Carolina Panthers. I'll take the Raiders at -1. That is not a game that you would honestly want a Raider at against the Carolina Panthers. That is a bad showing. I think the Raiders have something to prove up from here, but even Cleveland has a bit of their struggles as well. Deshaun Watson not looking as efficient. And right now there's been some inconsistencies. And look, you had an opportunity to beat Carolina. Now you're giving another opportunity. If they don't come away with this one at home, that's just not going to be a very, very good look. There's going to be some serious concerns, but I'll give them one more chance up on this at -1. Give me the Raiders 27-23 against the Browns.
I was going to choose the Raiders. I really was, and then I swapped it last minute. I am going to go with the Browns. Their defense is just too good and too elite to not pick them. And I do think that, even with Aiden O'Connell starting, which I have not seen any news about him starting at all, so I don't know if that's true. But, even with Aiden O'Connell starting, going up against Myles Garrett on the defensive side of the ball because he is playing this week, and that Browns pass rush and everything, I think they're going to be in for a rude awakening. So I'm going to go ahead and go with Cleveland to win, but we're probably only going to win by 3.
All right. As you could tell, I didn't like this bet line either for the Kansas City Chiefs and for the Los Angeles Chargers as the Chiefs are on the road I'm going to take the Chargers points 7.5 here on this one. This Chargers defense through 3 weeks is the 7th best defense right now in the league. So the Chargers and Chiefs defense, let alone the Steelers defense, has looked very, very well. Now, the news on Justin Herbert is he's out of a walking boot. He was limited in practice, and he doesn't want to miss this game. Now, again, I would not push the injury further because knowing that they're going on onto the bye week next week. But that's 7.5. They disrespect the defense after Derwin James now is now suspended for 1 game. I just think the Chargers have enough fight in them in the tank, and I think Jim Harbaugh is going to do what Jim Harbaugh does best. He's going to look at this game and knows that this is a statement game, not just against Kansas City, but for against the league in the NFL. I'll take the points for the Chargers. I would not be surprised if the Chiefs come away with a win here 23-21, but that 7.5 was clearly disrespectful towards the Chargers at home with a ranked 7th defense.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and go with Kansas City right here. I mean, it's very, very difficult to go against Patrick Mahomes. It's very, very difficult to go against the Kansas City Chiefs. And until somebody beats them and tells me otherwise, I'm going to go ahead and go with the Chiefs. I know that the defense for the Chargers has looked good, but even without Justin Herbert, I think going up against that Chiefs defense is going to be very, very difficult to do so.
Now, this is a tasty Sunday night football game. Buffalo in Baltimore. I will take the Buffalo Bills at +1. I'm surprised they're an underdog in this game. Because after what I've seen from 3 weeks, this Bills offense, nobody can say they don't have any wide receivers. That's a load of bogus. Khalil Shakir, Keon Coleman, James Cook. Like, you want to start knowing these guys right now. But Josh Allen, of all people, Josh Allen's been playing at his all-time best and is considered an early candidate for MVP. I think with what Josh Allen is doing and what the Bills defense has also been able to do now in the previous weeks. Baltimore, however, they escaped out of an emotional game against the Dallas Cowboys, which right now, they're 1-2. There's a bit of them holding on to that panic button for a little bit. But I think the Ravens, they may play some hard football, but I don't think it's going to be that easy at home that with a road team that's been playing the hot hand. I'll take the Bills here on the road, 24-20 against the Ravens.
I'm going with the Bills as well. I think it's very difficult to go against the way that they've been playing so far recently, and I think that not choosing the Bills, it would be a dumb choice at this point in time. And that Ravens defense has looked exposed a little bit, especially on the linebacker side, and their offensive line has looked lackluster too. So give me the Bills on this one.
So, of course, with the Miami Dolphins being on their third-string quarterback after Skylar Thompson went down with an injury, I will take the Tennessee Titans at +1. Look, I don't love Will Levis as much as most people do as well. But my thought is that the Titans defense has been in games in the last few weeks. The Titans defense is not one to sleep on. But if Will Levis could stop making mistakes, I think we could be okay with where we sit at with Tennessee in this matchup. Because no Tua, the offense looks stagnant. And I think after last week for the Miami Dolphins and losing Skylar Thompson, I feel bad for the Dolphins. But I think with this matchup, this perfect situation for the Tennessee Titans to get back on track with that defense and hopefully a mistake-less kind of game from Will Levis. Give me the Titans here on the road as road warriors in Miami 24-17.
Yeah, I would like to know who the offensive coordinator was when Mike Vrabel was the head coach, because obviously he did very well with Will Levis and made him look very, very good in terms of that. So I think what they should do is they should not have Brian Callahan calling plays and coaching Will Levis, because he's looked like garbage the first couple of weeks, and obviously he's the reason why they've lost 2 out of 3 of their games. But yeah, go ahead and give me Tennessee for a bounce back game this week. I think that they're going to do that.
And the final Monday night game, as much as I love the Detroit Lions, I love with what I'm seeing from the Seattle Seahawks in 3 weeks with Mike McDonald. I'll take them plus 3.5. The Seahawks don't have to look as pretty. And by the way, they ship off Shane Waldron, and in comes Ryan Groove. And Geno Smith, you know what's funny about it last year? The quarterback who led the league in comeback drives last year, in fourth-quarter drives, was Geno Smith. Geno Smith has had the most comeback from behind drives than any quarterback last year. And right now we're seeing with clutch drives that the Seahawks have been playing. Defense also looks very, very good, and I also do feel like they're going to capitalize because right now Frank Ragnow is out. Graham Glasgow is now going to take over for duties at center. And the Seahawks get Achino Wosu back. And now I feel like that pass rush for the Seattle Seahawks is coming back. Devin Witherspoon and Reek Woolen in that backfield is going to cause a lot of problems for someone like Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think it's still going to be a fun Monday night game, but give me the Seahawks in a close game, 24-21 in Detroit.
Yeah, I'm going to go the opposite. Go ahead and give me Detroit in this one. I think that their offense is too good. Ben Johnson is too good of a play caller in order for this offense not to get going, even with that Seahawks defense, even with the offensive line out. I think they're going to make the adjustments. Jameson Williams has been putting it together over the past few weeks, and Sam Laporta is still looking pretty good. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and go with the Lions in this one, and I think it'll be a closer game than what people think, but the Seahawks will not be 4-0 after this week.
Well, the closeness of this game at 3.5 is because Laporta dealing with an injury. Now, I do like their other tight end, Wright. I do like him. I think he's a very good serviceable player. But I think what they're saying is, and why I thought this is because I've watched that Lions offense in the last few weeks. They've only been getting up close to about 20 points. Week 1 against the Rams at home, they put up 26. That previous game against the Arizona Cardinals, they've only put up 20. So there's a bit of that even though they are playing hard-nosed football, but you also still got to be able to build fluidity in the offense. It's a little different because each of these matchups that they've been playing against now in the last couple of weeks have been hard matchups. And I feel like they're going at it again with a Seattle defensive-minded team that has been playing extremely well in 3 games. I mean, they won that thriller against, New England. They walked all over Denver in week 1. And then you saw with what happened last week where the Seahawks played their best football there. And I just feel like in week 4, that's a tougher matchup for Detroit than anything because of the way that defense is played. And Ryan Grube, though, however, that's why people were thinking about what is up with Shane Waldron. I think Seattle sent us a message of why they didn't want him. They did not retain him. And I think bringing up Ryan Grube, getting the best of Geno Smith, I mean, those drives are important. That's why I'm like, I think that was the biggest takeaway from that. But, yeah, I feel confident with these picks. I mean, I got Cowboys, Falcons, Steelers, Texans, Vikings, Bengals, Bears, Broncos, Eagles, Cardinals, Patriots, Raiders, Chargers, Bills, Titans, and Seahawks. Now, I still love my dogs, but I do have a couple good favorable matchups that I am taking here this week. I'm hoping now I start getting up on a very good hot streak, though, this week. But, yeah, it's been looking really, really good. All right. That's going to do it for us, for Chase and myself here on the show. What a week.
Absolutely.
Lots of good stuff. Next week, Alex Dono is going to be joining us, talking a little bit of some college football. Interestingly enough, and it's going to be on the Miami Hurricanes. So he'll be talking some Canes, talking some Cam Ward. Excited
Good, 'cause,
about that.
I need to know how well he's going to be as a Cleveland Brown. So.
Well, I'd like to know what system changed at the end of the day with what we've seen from Mario Cristobal thus far. I mean, they're playing very, very well. So we'll get a chance to get a look at that next week. Show sponsored by BetUS.com and, of course, NFL Prime Predictions and the Go for 3 game day odds are provided by BetUS.com. $50 or more in your deposit with a matchups of up to 125% bonuses, meaning that you will get up to $2,000 in your first 3 deposits. The more you put in, meaning more the deposit, more the fun, more chances to win big in a lot of these contests. So don't miss out. BetUS.com, where the game begins, and on SeatGeek tomorrow and Saturday on my off days. And I'm going to be in Coors Field for the final outings against the LA Dodgers. So I'll get a chance to finally see Mookie. I'll see Shohei Ohtani again for the next 2 times. So I'm excited about that. But I've got the best seats in the house thanks to SeatGeek. SeatGeek, $20 off by using Snake Sports as the promo code for it off your first ticket of your first ever event or sporting event. With myself and Chase, Jake Silva signing off, and we'll see you guys next week on the Snake Sports Talk Show. Take care, guys.
Take care.